Hello everybody, my name is Dimitri Khosropour and I will be discussing reflective practices today. So what is reflective practice? Well, reflective practice is when you reflect on your education or your career and see, the things you're doing right, the things you're doing wrong, how other people are reacting, things of that nature. Examples of reflective practice are, of course, there's the journal/blog, however you want to do it. But basically, every time you take a job and every time you work, you want to write about everything that happened, every little detail that you can remember. And this is because, one of the benefits of this is, let's say you have a specific job. I don't know, let's say you're doing, you're interpreting for composition, English composition class, but you don't really have a lot of experience interpreting English composition, or in classrooms. So let's say, you finish that job, you want to write down everything because let's say you take a job 3-4 months in advance, or 3-4 months later, I should say, in sort of the same type of environment. Well, you want to be able to look back on your notes, see all the things that went wrong, so that you could change those things or not let them happen again. All the things that went right, so you can continue to do those things, how people reacted to you. So, you kind of know what to expect. You can also film yourself or ask somebody else to film you. You can use the different models of reflection, which we will talk about later. You can also ask clients about their experience, or you can have feedback forums online or in person. Yeah, there are different methods of getting feedback. You can also look on social media to see, let's say you were a musical interpreter at a concert. Well, you can look at the social media to see how your clients are viewing your practice, to see, oh, they really hated me, and they say I interpreted everything wrong. I didn't realize wasn't interpreting the way they like. Or oh wow, they absolutely love me. Those things are good to know. Oh, sorry, this is dry. Okay, the importance of reflective practice. Obviously, it helps you improve yourself, but you want everyone to have the best experience possible. It helps get you more jobs, but it also, as an interpreter, you do have an effect on people's lives. Maybe not so much if you're like a musical interpreter, but if you're an interpreter for big companies, or if you're an interpreter in an emergency room, anything like that. I mean, you could have big impact on people's lives. So you want people to have a good experience, a smooth experience. You're there to give them as good as of an experience as possible. So you can also gain a better understanding of how you work, how your coworkers, other people in your field work, your clients. You want to know how they work, especially, in certain situations things change, so you want to always be as appropriate as you can. And you can do that by sort of understanding what they want and how they work. It also helps with isolation. So isolation is a pretty big deal in the interpreting community, and it's not, an interpreter is locked in the room for 7 days. It's the lack of communication. An interpreter could just walk into a room, do the job, then walk out, never talk to their clients again, whatever. Never talk to the other interpreting partner. But you don't want to be isolated, because when you're isolated, if you're stuck, if you're interpreting something that you just don't know how to interpret, then other people either can't help you or might not be willing to help you. So, that is something to think about, definitely. You want to constantly be creating connections. And also somebody else, let's say you meet an interpreter who's always interpreting psychology classes, and you got your first psychology gig, but you aren't really, you don't have a whole lot of experience with psychology terms. Well, if you meet them, you can ask them questions and get advice and all of these things. So yeah, the best way to prevent that is simply to talk to people. Get to know as many people in your field as you can. Get to know your clients. Alright, so now we're going to get into models. John Dewey was the first to write about reflective practices in the early 20th century. Terry Borton then came later in 1970, and he came up with a model of what, as in, what happened, so what, as in, why does it matter that it happened, and now what? How can I prevent this bad thing from happening, or how can I continue this good thing? And he was strictly a model for education. His model was strictly a model for education, but then other areas, other industries started adapting that, such as nursing, such as psychotherapy, anything like that, and of course interpreting. Now, David Kolb, he was influenced by John Dewey. He was of the belief that you should learn on experience. So, let's say you know sign language, you should just start interpreting. There's no need to really practice interpreting, because you'll practice by doing it. Now, his model is a post-experience model, to reflect on the experience, kind of think about what happened, how other people were feeling, how you were feeling, gain understanding of concepts that you might not know, and then, of course, test the knowledge of you have new information of these new concepts that you didn't know before. Go into another environment and test them. There's Chris Argyris and David Schoen. They came up with single and double loop learning. Single loop learning is when you find that there's a mistake, and you fix the mistake while it happens, but you don't do anything to prevent that mistake from happening again. Double loop learning is the opposite. It's when you see a mistake, you fix the mistake, and then you take the initiative to try and prevent it from happening again. Two types of reflection model came from David Schoen. Reflection on action, which is reflecting on what just happened, and then reflecting in action, which is while you are actually interpreting, taking note of things like facial expressions, and constantly trying to improve yourself while it's even happening in the moment. The Graham-Gibbs model is a description of what happened, the feelings of not only you, but the people involved, all people involved really, evaluation and analysis of what happened, general and then specific conclusions. You kind of want the inverted triangle as far as kind of describing your conclusions. Personal action plans. You don't just want to figure all these things out, you want to actually make a plan to prevent it from happening again. And then Christopher Johns, he is kind of the opposite of Kolb from earlier. He believes that you need to learn first, learn the empirical sort of learning first, and then you need to go out and do it then. So his model is the 5 patterns of knowing. So the aesthetic, kind of the outer layer of it, the personal, how you feel about it, the ethical, kind of the morality of the situation and things that have happened, the empirical, so kind of the book side of the in-book side of everything, and the reflexive. Stephen Brookfield, last but not least, he came up with the 4 lenses. The autobiography as a learner, so kind of the story of what happened through, with your journey, the learner's eye, so kind of how you see things, the colleagues' experiences, how they see things, how they feel, and theoretical literature. So bringing other theories into what happened. So that's Brookfield. Now, for the activity, think of a moment when, in your past, sign language interpretation career track or educational track, or, kind of come up with a scenario that might happen in the future. Pick one of the models of reflective practice, write at least 2 paragraphs of that experience using the model on like your experience, and then write a paragraph after that about how you will take this into your interpreting career or planned other career, because reflective practice is very important. I hope you continue to use it. Here are my references, and thank you very much for joining me today. Take care.